And Merry Christmas, everyone. Told you this video was coming. So, and again, I can't remember the guy who I see the short videos for, but he does them and they're fun because he's arguing with himself. But he brought up a topic about Goku not being a bad father. And the running joke is that Goku is a bad father. But it really got me thinking, the question in my head was like, is Goku a bad father? I mean, is he? So that's what I decided to do as a random video. Every once in a while, I do a random video for shits and giggles, and this is the random video for today. Is Goku actually a bad father? So we have to basically look at Goku from the time he becomes a father between the end of Dragon Ball and the beginning of Z to basically the end of Super. So let's just gauge this as it is. Let's start with basically when we see him in Dragon Ball Z. We know nothing of his parenting style that much as of the beginning of Dragon Ball Z. We see a little interactions here or there. Gohan is very frail and timid, but he's only like 5, so of course he's going to be very afraid of the world. Goku, as far as we know, though, is actually a good fight. He's there every day of Gohan's life, even when he's farming. He's likes to play with the sun. They hang out, they spend time together. So if we're looking at like from a points perspective, I'm going to start Goku out at a solid 10 points. Like every good thing he does, every year he's there, whatever. Let's just say 10 points worth of. Well, let's even scale it. Let's say 50. Good deeds, all that, 50 points. Now, I will appropriately score Goku in points by the deeds he does. So right out of the gate, as far as we can tell, he's a good father from the beginning when we see him. But what about beyond that? Well, his son gets kidnapped and he immediately goes to save his son. Like there's no ifs, ands, or buts. Good parenting. That's got to be at least 5 points worth of like cred right there. So let's call that what it is. 55 points he's at right now. And then he dies, and then Gohan gets kidnapped. That is not a comment on Goku's parenting style. Goku's dead at that point. There's nothing he can actually do. So Goku comes back. Goku comes back during the Saiyan saga. At this point, Gohan has actually been able to grow a little bit, mature a little bit. He's been able to get a bit stronger as well. But the little we get of him and Gohan in the Saiyan saga, there's not much to say anything about his parenting style. It's because they're in a fight. He's there to help save them, absolutely. But he puts his faith in his son, and his faith's rewarded when Gohan repels the spirit bomb. But that's not a commentary on parenting. At best, you could maybe say it's a comment on his faith in his son to actually be able to repel the attack. So then, what about Namek? Well, once again, Goku is not really doing that much of parenting. Yeah, he goes to save his son, gets him a Sensei, and I believe he's the first one to get one. But beyond that, there's not much to say. Until you get to near the end of the Namek arc, where Goku's about to face off Frieza for the last time, goes Super Saiyan, and he flat out tells him, you need to get out of here now. Take Piccolo and go. Find Bulma. Go. Get out of here now. Even yells at his son, but he's yelling at him to save his life. He knows, I can't fight all out if you're here. You need to go. And so Goku, at that point, Goku's still doing good parenting. It's okay. Hot take here. It's okay to yell at your kid if you're trying to save their life and they're not moving their ass. So it's fine. So I would say put another 10 points on Goku's parenting checklist right there. 75 points. Goku's great. Woohoo. But now we get into the gray area here, the Android arc. This is where the parenting might actually start to where people kind of, I think, start to get on Goku's case. Goku basically says, hey, I'm alive. That's good. I'm going to spend a year out in space, though. Don't worry, I'll be back. Now, we know why Goku is doing this. He's doing it so he can gain better control of the Super Saiyan form, learn the instant transmission, all that. But remember, we're looking at this in the context lens of parenting, Goku's style of parenting. And this is not going to be the last time that Goku does something like this. I will say that it's not an egregious act. Goku currently is at 75 points in my mind. But I think for parenting, there's not much you can. That's not really a good parenting thing. You're not there for your family when they theoretically could need you. And clearly, when we saw the dick of a tutor there, He could have been useful there to kind of just intimidate the guy or tell him, screw off, piss off. That's my son. My son is great. So I'll only dock him 5 points on that. Then Goku comes back. Things seem fine, but when Goku comes back, they immediately go into training. And this is another one where it's kind of hard because they need to do the training. And Goku is willing to go through Gohan is willing to go through the training with Goku. But I mean, is that actually good parenting? I mean, you're increasing your son's strength. Absolutely. I will actually call that a neutral field right there. Because on one hand, Gohan is still a kid. He's probably the strongest kid on the planet. Absolutely. And we're going to talk more about this when we get into the big one. The big thing a lot of people get on Goku's case for in a second. But as it stands, I don't think there's any real good or bad parenting here. Because the training is kind of canceled out by the fact this is still just your kid of a son. Yeah, he is a fighter to a degree. But, I mean, as long as he wants to do it, I don't think you're really doing anything wrong. But I will say it's still probably a neutral thing. But now we get into, 70 points. Goku's still golden, yeah. But now we get to the big one, folks. The one that people really got on his ass for. And I literally just rewatched this not more than 5 minutes ago. Sorry, not more than maybe 10 minutes ago. I'm looking at the clock now. To get an idea of where this actually ranks. The Cell arc. This is where when I watched the video of again, I can't remember his name, but I watched this video, I'm like, I'm sorry, no, I completely disagree with this. So I commented on, I've recently been doing the new Dragon Ball Z whatever, where Gohan kept training, and someone did make a comment. I'm going to read this comment in length because it's very important why I disagree with some of these statements based on what would just happen. So the person said, and I'm not going to say the person's name, you can find the comment in the video if you want. Actually, Gohan was way more powerful than Goku. We know this because Gohan believes Goku and Cell were still messing around during their fight when Goku admits he was going 100% during that fight. Gohan is also implied to actually have been able to defeat Cell even without Super Saiyan 2. We see Super Saiyan 2 Gohan with half power, which Gohan admits, basically making him Super Saiyan 1. Level Gohan was able to match and eventually overpower Super Perfect Cell in a beam struggle. Okay, so before we get into why Goku's parenting style, let me address this. I literally just rewatched that fight. There is not a statement I made there that Gohan was stronger than Goku. In fact, everyone's reaction, while impressed with Gohan's energy, everyone still thought Gohan was going to get killed. Cell was going to kill Gohan. Like, they all still thought that. Gohan was strong, and he may even have been arguably stronger than Goku. I'm not necessarily arguing that. I don't think he was strong. He may have been as strong, a little weaker, or a little stronger than Goku in base. Either way, he was not stronger than Cell in base. They kind of really lay into that point that he was not stronger than Cell in base. Because if he was stronger than Cell in base, then he shouldn't have been having anywhere near the problems that he was having against Cell. There's just no, when I say base, I mean Super Saiyan 1. And straight Super Saiyan, he should not have been having the problems he was having with Cell in that fight. There is no, despite the fact Gohan thought they were messing around, Gohan, even if he is stronger than Goku, was not stronger than Cell in Super Saiyan 1. This is completely just backed up by the fact that he was not, they were not necessarily even. They were they were close, but it's arguable to say that Cell also got a Zenkai boost too from that sense of being, to be honest, because he also came back from the dead a while from Goku blowing his head off and top off. So yeah, Gohan, as far as we can tell, in Super Saiyan 1 was not stronger than Cell. But what about the other comment where he was actually implied to have been able to defeat Cell even without Super Saiyan 2? Again, even if hypothetically Gohan was at half power when sorry, let me read that statement again. Gohan was implied to actually have been able to defeat Cell without Super Saiyan 2. We see Super Saiyan 2 Gohan with half power, which Gohan admits, basically making him Super Saiyan level, being able to match. Oh, this is the beam struggle thing. So here's the problem with that statement. It's very likely what Gohan meant is that he could not do a proper Kamehameha because he was missing, his arm was done. Maybe his power level was waning, but we know for a fact that Rage Boost and, the Vitality Boost and Encouragement Boost are a thing. And Gohan was losing that beam struggle the majority of the time. So, Gohan, for a while it was even, but then, he was losing that beam struggle the majority of the time. Gohan literally had to throw everything he had, which means he probably went back to the Super Saiyan 2 power level when he went all out in that final blast. So, no. As far as I can tell, and again, I rewatched that entire fight. Not the entire fight, but like the entire fight leading up to Super Saiyan 2. Gohan, as far as I can tell, was not implied to be stronger than Cell. In fact, it doesn't even seem like he was implied to be stronger than Goku, at least from the version I was watching. There is obviously the Japanese dub, the Kai dub, and the English dub. The original English dub, which I watched the original English dub. And there's the manga as well. Maybe it's implied differently in those other versions, but that's not the case from what I saw. So, with that out of the way, the comments that the video I watched made state that, Gohan is a fighter. No, Gohan is a fighter. He trained with them. He got stronger. To save the Earth. Gohan is a fighter. Goku had faith in his son because he knew he could beat Cell. So, and what happened? He did. Those were kind of the arguments he made in the video. So, first and foremost, the comment on Gohan being a fighter. Again, I wanted to watch that video again, the fight again, because the statement Piccolo makes in both the dubbed and, weirdly enough, the abridged version completely encapsulate why that statement is wrong. Okay, let me rephrase that. It's not wrong. It's a misleading statement. In the dub, Piccolo flat out states, Gohan's not a fighter like you. Now, that does mean Gohan is a fighter, but he's a different type of fighter. He fights only out of necessity, a means to the end. He does not train like Goku or Vegeta does to just continually self-improve. Gohan does not like, and to go with the abridged, Gohan doesn't like fighting, you idiot. Have you ever once in your life actually asked your son what he likes, what he enjoys? Well, he spent that year because he wanted to spend time with you, his father, the guy who spends half his time training and the other half dead, sometimes both. Now, that part, not entirely true. Gohan did want to help. But, point being, going back to the dub, Piccolo also states that you don't want to know what he's thinking, not thinking how he can beat Cell. He's thinking, why? Why is my dad doing this to me? Because he's a scared 11-year-old boy. And I'm sorry for those people who argue that Gohan is a fighter. He might be a fighter, but he's, as Piccolo stated, he's not like Goku or the rest of them. He doesn't train to self-improve and get stronger. He trains out of necessity to meet a goal, and when he's done with that goal, he goes back to the more peaceful life that he likes. And you know what? There is nothing wrong with that. I think we get on the writing for Gohan's case because we were hoping he'd be like the next Goku and like protect the planet, but that's we have to understand that there's nothing wrong with someone wanting the easy life, the peaceful life. Gohan's perfectly allowed to have that. But the fact of the matter is, this does put Goku from a parenting standpoint in a very bad position. Because Goku didn't understand his son in both the manga, the anime, and the abridged, in any of the versions really, in the dub, any of that, he did not understand his son. He just assumed his son was like him. And while he definitely took traits from his dad, he is not like him. And is a very gross misunderstanding of his son on his part. And then throwing an 11-year-old boy, I don't care how fucking powerful he is, throwing an 11-year-old boy to a guy who beat your ass, who's not even as strong as, arguably as strong as you, or barely stronger than you, and Cell's still stronger than him, and you're watching your son get tormented, waiting for him to unlock his power, which, by the way, and this is the other big problem here, Gohan knew about this power, knew why his dad threw him in there. He absolutely knew. But he didn't know how to access that power. It was blind freaking luck that happened. Which means if that hadn't happened where 16 was killed, this would have ended very badly, very drawn out. I'm sorry, no matter how you look at it, no matter how much you want to say Goku had faith in his son and that faith was rewarded, he was rewarded with sheer luck, then I'm sorry, this is bad parenting on Goku's part. This is actually very bad parenting on Goku's part. I'm not saying it completely detracts on like the level of points I've given him. I would still overall call Goku a good dad by comparison. But if you want to talk about like detraction, that's a good. He's at 70 points right now that I'm arbitrarily giving him. I would say that at least takes a good 30 off. Throwing your kid into a meat grinder, thinking he's going to make it out, only to realize there's a good chance he won't because you've completely misunderstood your own kid after all this time. It's not good parenting. Sorry. Now, Goku does make amends, though, by taking care of the problem himself. And if Cell hadn't had the ability to regenerate, it would have been successful. So, props to Goku for taking responsibility. I actually like how Goku acknowledges his fault in the abridged version of all things more than he does in the original. The whole, I'm sorry, son. It's just fighting makes me happy, and I just thought you'd make me happy too. But I just want you to know that year in the chamber was the best year of my life. Love you, son. Bye, son. Like that was actually good accountability Goku took in the abridged version. And then Cell comes back. Goku's faith is ultimately rewarded that Gohan beats him. La la la. So I will round it out to like an even 35. Like Goku's parenting points took a big hit. I'll round it out to 40 right now. Not that these points really mean anything. This is just in my head how to do things. And then Goku basically does what he did with Yard Rat to a larger scale. He said, don't revive me, because villains have been coming all this time because of me. So if I stay dead, they're not going to come. And so Goku decides, instead of being there for my family, I'm going to protect my family by not being there so that villains don't show up and just try to destroy the world. And for 7 years, he does actually have a point there, but it comes at a cost, because he's not there to raise his new son, which, let's talk about that. We also have to add Goten into the parenting fray here. He's not there for his new son. He's not there to see his current son grow. Now, luckily for Goku, we can now kind of alleviate him from a lot of the parenting issues that he had, from some of the parenting issues he has with Gohan, because Gohan's now going into his formative years as a teenager and young adult. So he really doesn't have to do much in terms of parenting now with Gohan. With Goten, he would have to do parenting. And fortunately, we just don't get enough with Gohan and Goten in this version, in the later parts of the series, to see what Goku's parenting style would be like. He does give some advice. I will say, him stopping Gohan from stopping the fight with Spopovich, I don't quite agree, but I can also understand that. I think that's an even kind of thing there, an even kind of parenting balance. Beyond that, there's just not much in terms of parenting we see of him in Super, and there's not much parenting we see of him in like the Buu saga at all. Because at that point, Gohan is married with a kid on the way, and Pan shows up. Goten, we don't see him interacting with Goten. We assume he's there for his son, and assume he spends time with him. Although we also know that he spends a lot of time training off-world without his kid. And now Goten doesn't seem any worse for the wear of it, but if we're talking about from Goku's standpoint as a parent, that's admittedly kind of avoiding your family for a bit, which admittedly with Chi-Chi as a wife, you can kind of understand that, because Jesus Christ, sometimes Chi-Chi is a little too much. But yeah, I would say maybe knock a couple points off of Goku there. The biggest contention would be the Cell games and the 7 years he spends to keep the planet safe, only for it to actually kind of be irrelevant. Yeah, there were no villains showing up in those 7 years, but there was no one to show up for those 7 years to begin with, unless you go with the whole Bojack thing, which is not canon. But Boo was going to show up regardless. He didn't show up because of Goku. He just showed up along with Bob. I mean, Bobby showed up at Deborah with Boo. So that's an irrelevant thing. Villains were going to show up regardless. So I actually would say that the 7 years Goku spent dead to protect them was completely pointless. Personally. Which means I would probably say that was a bad move on his part from a parenting standpoint. Especially because Gohan didn't take up the role of Earth's protector or anything in the original series. He did not He did not get stronger, he got weaker. And so, yeah, I would probably dock Goku some parenting points on that as well. Now, again, like I said, the points actually don't mean anything. So I'm just using this as kind of a gauge. Ultimately, though, this comes down to the initial question. And that is Goku a bad father? And the answer to that, I think, is actually a very firm no. He's not a bad father. But he's hardly a perfect father. I think what it is, he's more disappointing as a parent in terms of what in terms of some of his choices, and he's definitely a bad father in certain instances. I think the Cell game is the most adamant point in the story where you could make an argument, at least for a moment, he's being a bad father. He's being a terrible father at that point. Remember, we're not talking about warriors. We're not talking about the relations to others. We're talking about his relationship to his son and his parenting style. In that moment, he is a bad father. But if we are looking at the entire series, then no. I don't think he's a bad father. In fact, I think he's actually been a pretty solid father for most of the series. He's just left things to be desired at points. So long and short of it, Goku is not a bad father. But he's not a perfect father by any stretch of the means. And he's been a bad father at least once in his life. So that is my thoughts. What do you think, though? Do you agree with what I said? Do you disagree? Do you think Goku is a great father, a terrible father, or somewhere in the middle? Let me know in the comments below. But thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Merry Christmas, and I'll see you for the next one.